that who knows when that will be done, but I'm trying, okay? Novellas. Yonder. Where's my other one? Hello? Am I stupid? Here it is. Jesus Christ. Shut up. No. Fuck off. Well, hello. Welcome back to my channel. Just Shauna here to talk about some friggin' books. And this is long overdue. I have so many books to talk about for recent wrap-up situations, so this is definitely gonna be broken up into 2 videos, maybe 3. I got a lot of catching up to do. I have not done a recent wrap-up since the beginning of February, I think, or mid-February. But I have read some things that I need to talk about. And actually, the first 2 that I'm going to talk about right now, I'm not going to wax poetic about because I did wax more poetic about them in a recent video, the Friends versus Audience, Who Knows My Taste Better Reading Taste Project video. So I will link that one if I remember to. If I don't, you can go check it out if you want more thoughts on these first 2. Because this very first one I did actually finish in January. In like the beginning / mid-January? Yeah, January 15th. Engines of Empire by R.S. Ford. This is epic fantasy, first book in a series. Definitely check it out if you are into adult epic fantasy. We have a few different kind of noble or royal houses, families. There are guilds, and each family kind of runs a guild that handles a certain aspect of like their trade and manufacturing and armies and this and that and the other thing. It's kind of a cool world. It's like a steampunk-esque vibe to the world, and I am not familiar with Final Fantasy at all, but Elle over at Elliot Brooks, she loves this series, and I've heard other people also liken it to Final Fantasy X, I want to say specifically. I don't know. Please don't disown me, Elle, if I'm wrong. But yeah, if you like that kind of a world, then definitely check it out. I ended up giving this 3 stars. I had some issues with like the characters and the character development and I don't know, characterization, I guess, and a little bit with the pacing as well. It just wasn't exactly to my taste. Didn't hate it though, and would recommend for any of you who enjoy any of these buzzwords I've said. Check it out. And yeah, if you want more thoughts, check out that other video. And then the second one is The Bladed Faith by David Dalglish. This one, Dalglish? Yes, Dalglish. This one I finished on January 25th. This was also for that project. This is also adult epic fantasy. This one is more dealing with religion and an empire that's colonizing everything. And we have an island country that gets invaded, and the royal family is beheaded, the king and the queen, in front of their young son, who is then held hostage. And then we jump forward to many years later where he is still being held hostage, but there's an uprising afoot. And there are people who want to get him out and train him up to be this assassin killer to take down this fucking empire. Very vengeance forward. Vengeance is the name of the game for sure in this one. And yeah, more thoughts in that other video. I ended up giving this 3.25 stars. It won that reading project, that little competition thing, but I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I liked it a little bit more than Engines of Empire, enough that I am going to check out the sequel just to see. I have heard other people have commented that they did enjoy the sequel even more, and they felt sort of similarly to me with the first book, kind of like, okay. I wanted a little bit more from it, you know? But not a bad time. I will check it out, and I would, once again, recommend for any adult epic fantasy fans. Then, I did talk about the rest of the books that I read in January, so we are jumping to February. This first one, I'm looking because I have a second copy of it. The copy I actually read is yonder. Where's my other one? Hello? Am I stupid? Here it is. Jesus Christ. on my special editions shelf, I reread A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. This is my special edition from Bookish Box. Look at this artwork. Sweet baby Jesus. And there was like a dust jacket, but I took it off because this is stupid gorgeous. But yeah, I actually read the paperback I have of the original cover when it was self-published. But yeah, it got picked up and republished, and I haven't actually read the traditionally published version. It does have an epilogue thing at the end that I do want to read, but on this reread, I just wanted to read it in its original form. And I am doing a project, so I won't wax poetic about this either. I have also read it before. I don't remember if I did an individual review for it, but this book is basically a letter to the now deceased Dracula, written by one of his wives, Constanta. She's basically telling him, here's why I murdered you, my guy. And then she is talking about her journey with him, their relationship. This shirt is not conducive to holding up this mic, and I can just feel it flopping about. Hopefully you can hear me. At any rate, I have seen people wildly mismarket this or miscategorize this book. This is not vampire smut, okay? If you're just looking for smutty, dark, taboo romance with vampires, no, no, that's not what this is. There's a few sex scenes. There's not even really all that many. There's like a couple. And they're like steamy or whatever, but the point of this book is talking about abuse, abusive relationships, domestic abuse and violence, emotional manipulation and emotional abuse, mental abuse, the ways in which we get sucked into this. The fucking dedication of the book says, to those who escaped a love like death and to those still caught in its grasp, you are the heroes of this story. And it's literally this story of her being like, here's how I got sucked into this shit with you for decades, hundreds of years, I can't quite remember. I finished this on the beginning of February. And then here's how I eventually got to the point of like, nah fam, and I'm out and I'm gonna fucking kill you. So yeah, I get so feisty whenever I see people being like, if you want smutty romance with vampires, here you go. I'm like, but no, holy shit. If that's what you got out of it, like, I urge you to listen to people who have been in domestic abuse situations and who talk about this book. Please, God. Anyway, yeah, my 5-star rating stands. I love this book. I think it is beautifully written, and it just has so much that makes me feel seen and that is kind of cathartic to read about. So many quotes, so many things I tabbed, and I will talk more about it when I do my project that who knows when that will be done, but I'm trying, okay? Then I picked up from the library, and I do not have it any longer. I already took it back. I finished this in the beginning of February as well. Breath of the Dragon by Shannon Lee and Fonda Lee. And Fonda Lee is our beloved Greenbone Saga author, as well as a few other things. And then Shannon Lee is Bruce Lee's daughter. And this is it's fantasy, it's young adult, and it is very martial arts heavy and action and whatnot. And my TLDR for this is that this was a fun time. This was a really fun time. The plot / story being told isn't maybe necessarily my favorite type of story or plot, but despite that, I really enjoyed reading it, and I really appreciated that the characters were well developed and they felt like real people. They felt like real people existing and interacting with each other, which is unsurprising because Fonda Lee is involved. Like, their behaviors made sense for who the authors set them up to be. There's a point where our main character is a little annoying, and he's sometimes young, he's a teenager, and he's just kind of bullheaded occasionally. His reactions to things where you're like, bro, seriously? But it didn't really bother me. I feel like sometimes I come across like I'm such a hater, like, oh, the character's annoying, so therefore, bleh, to the book. And it's like, people are allowed to be annoying sometimes. I'm annoying sometimes. And like, everyone's perspective is different, and you know what I mean? That doesn't necessarily make the characters bad or not well written or the book not well written, but it can, because it needs to make sense. Why they are, to me, what irritates me is when characters are behaving badly or dumb or having immature reactions to things that don't fucking fit who you have set them up to be. The things that don't make sense, where I'm like, I don't buy it that they would react this way. Whereas in this book, our main character, June, like, I believed that he would react this way. It made sense that he was reacting in these annoying ways. So it didn't piss me off, because I was like, oh, God, come on, kid, you're being stupid. I kind of want to shake you, but I'm still enjoying my reading experience because I'm not getting pulled out of the story going, wait, what? Why would he be behaving this way? And I really appreciated that. But yeah, our plot, we're set up with, it's this world, how do I explain it? It's also been a hot second since I read it, but it's a world where it's, you know, an Asian-inspired land, and it's broken up with a wall, and there's a family, and there's magic in this world. And basically, in one side, people with magic are very controlled, and you have to like go work in the military. They come and take you away from your family and train you and this and that. But anyone else, you're not allowed. Like, you are not allowed to fuck around with magic. And in the other part, there's like training academies that like teach you how to wield it, and it's much more open. And something happens when this kid is very young, and he had a brother. His mom and his brother get taken away, and his dad and him like flee. And then for a little while, you're able still to like go back and forth or write letters back and forth, and they're in communication. But as the years go on, and this like conflict between these two lands, these two countries, these two sides of this country, kind of are getting worse. The conflict is getting real serious. They close the borders, essentially. And then he and his father don't hear from his brother anymore, and his mother. And then it ends up, there's like a championship, a tournament thing, and he wants to go, but he can't afford it. And he's been trained with martial arts and his like powers and stuff. And then he finds a way to basically go on a journey to get there and to do the thing and to be in the tournament. And yeah, the journey, road trip, tournament, championship thing is just never gonna be my favorite thing ever. However, in this, the training was not over long, like the training sequences while they were on this journey, on this road trip. It was not like overly long or repetitive. It didn't ever feel tedious to me. And same for the tournament. It was broken up enough with other scenes of characters interacting and like character development and this and that. So I didn't get the like training fatigue or fight scene fatigue that I can often feel in stories like that. Definitely themes here of honor, duty, family, friendship, selflessness, hard choices, and like doing what is the best thing for the greater good. That kind of messaging throughout. So yeah, I quite enjoyed it. I ended up giving this 4 stars, and it's going to be a duology, and I'm definitely going to pick up the sequel. I don't know that it's a duology that I'll feel like rereading ever, so I don't know if I'll purchase. I think it'll depend on the sequel and how I feel about that one. If I love that second book and I'm just like, oh my god, then I will buy the duology, but otherwise I'll just keep it to the library. Then another one for that reading tastes project thing. This was a DNF, Spark of the Divine by Louise Holland. This is epic fantasy, adult fantasy. And I got, how far into this? I don't remember. 21% into this. And it's a Dungeons and Dragons campaign turned into this series. And yeah, I can't quite put my finger exactly on it. There was something about the writing. I think the sentence structure, the flow of the story, flow of the writing, it just was not grabbing my interest at all. It was a struggle to get through this 21%. It just felt a little bit all over the place, I guess. I don't know, the narrative structure just, it's not like it's some crazy, weird storytelling format or just telling the story in chronological order, but it just felt clunky, I guess, and I can't quite put my finger on why, but I definitely see why people enjoy it, and I can see some reasons like why people would think I might enjoy it, but yeah, I didn't. Bummer times. Next, I picked up a NetGalley e-arc I had for a Nghi Vo book. Why, you ask? If you've been here for a minute, you know, my journey with Nghi Vo has been a fail, essentially. I can't remember which one I read first. The first Nghi Vo I read was The Empress of Salt and Fortune, which is the first novella in that series, the Singing Hills cycle. And I only gave that 3.5 stars. I was like, okay, I enjoyed it like enough. And then The Chosen and the Beautiful came out, and I read that, and that's a novella as well, a little bit longer though. The Singing Hills cycle are like novellas. But I picked up The Chosen and the Beautiful, and that one, it felt very different. But like looking back now, I see that Nghi Vo's writing style, I thought initially like, oh, it might just be hit or miss for me, because in the Singing Hills cycle, it's so like folktale-esque, like it feels like you're sitting around a campfire with, you know, some folklorist telling you this tale, and it's a little bit like nonsensical and magical realism-y, but it like made more sense, I guess, in those first two books in the Singing Hills cycle. And I actually really liked the second one even better, When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain. That one I gave 4.25 stars, but that one I read that one in January also. Yeah, so I read both of those in January, and yeah, I liked the second one even more. And then I saw that The Chosen and the Beautiful was coming out, and it's like a gender-bent reimagining of The Great Gatsby. And I was like, oh, word. And I freaking loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I was like, it's so beautiful and poetic and bleh and whatever. And then I tried The Siren Queen that came out in 2022, another novella, historical fiction, fantasy, magical realism, whatever. I DNF'd it. I simply could not. And then the third Singing Hills book, I think I gave like 3 stars, 3.25, so went back down, and I decided to be done with that series. And I was kind of like, man, is Nghi Vo just like not it for me? Then I tried The City in Glass last year, another e-arc I had, DNF'd it. And so I'm like, okay, I gotta be done with Nghi Vo, right? Well then, Don't Sleep with the Dead is coming out, and actually I think might be out now. Let me double check. No, not just yet. I have it marked down that it's coming out April 8th. So Don't Sleep with the Dead is kind of a companion novella to The Chosen the Beautiful. So The Chosen the Beautiful, I misspoke. It's not a gender-bent Great Gatsby. It's just following Jordan Baker, who is a character from Great Gatsby and is a woman. But in this, she's just a different character. But in The Chosen the Beautiful, you're just following along the same plot points from The Great Gatsby, with a few extra scenes added in, like the backstory for Jordan Baker and some stuff that Jordan Baker's getting up to when she's not with the crew. But like otherwise, the same things happen to the other characters and everything, to Daisy and Jay and everyone. And then this one is a continuation following Nick Carraway. And I was just like, all right, maybe because it's still like in the Great Gatsby world, this is one I'll vibe with. Yeah, no, I didn't DNF it because I'm trying real hard to keep my fucking NetGalley ratio up. So I did finish it, but yeah, no, I'm done. I'm done with Nghi Vo. I just felt very lukewarm about the whole thing overall. And if it had been a full-length novel, I would have DNF'd, I think. I would have been like, fuck it, I can't. But I knew it was, you know, shorter, and I was just like, I'm gonna fucking finish. I'm gonna push through. But yeah, it's just, her writing style is just not for me. The one Singing Hills book, the second one that I really loved, and The Chosen and the Beautiful are clearly the anomalies. Her writing style is much too magical realism, fabulism for me. If you like that, this very like ethereal, atmospheric, what's even real, what's even going on, I don't really know, but it sounds beautiful and like fantastical and like crazy and trippy. If you like that, fucking read Nghi Vo. Oh my God. But if you're like me and that is not your jam typically, like I can enjoy a very like metaphorical, poetic, poignant, you know, beautiful prose. I do sometimes really like that, but not this like, ooh, I feel like I fucking trip in acid and someone's telling me a story and they're also tripping acid and like, what's even going on? I don't like it. So yeah. The authorial voice is not for me. I gave this 3 stars because it's like, I don't think it's a bad book, and I didn't hate the experience necessarily, but it's just, it's not a fun time for me. reading Nghi Vo. Other than, I need to reread The Chosen and the Beautiful. Like, maybe that was just like a point in time that hit and it's never gonna work again. I don't know. We shall see. And I'll finish up, I'm getting kind of overly long here, but the last book that I finished in February, so this will just be a February recent wrap up for the most part. The end of February, I finished It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I got it from the library and it's part of that reading project, the video that I'm gonna do talking about books that discuss domestic abuse, domestic violence, etc. And I was like, I gotta fucking bite the bullet and finally check this shit out. I've never read any Colleen Hoover in my life. When I first joined BookTube, this book in particular had been not necessarily recommended like a great book, but when I read Bad Romance, which is young adult, I had said like, hey, if there's books like this that deal with this topic, that deal with someone getting into an abusive relationship and getting out, but it's like adult, and you think I would like it, like let me know. And a few people mentioned like It Ends With Us. And then of course over the years, even before TikTok, Book Talk, and it blew up all over again, it's been around. It's, you know, been a book that I've been aware of since I joined BookTube in 2017. The book was published in 2016. And then just Colleen Hoover in general, everything I've heard, every excerpt I have seen, read, reviews I have watched, I just have been like, nah, man, no thank you. And this book, I just was like, I had written it off, like I'm never gonna do it. But I was like, I want like something to compare, right? Like all these books I'm talking about that like do it well. I want to have something to compare to that like maybe doesn't do it so well. But then also I was like, maybe it does. Maybe what people don't like about it is just like the general like writing and like the quality of the writing and like the dialogue. Maybe like I need to see for myself what it is that people don't like. Maybe the abuse stuff is handled really well actually or something. And so I read it. And I will say I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't rate it super high, but it was a very easily digestible page turner. Okay. Very cringy at moments, like the dialogue and shit sometimes was so cringy. And my God, the fucking names. Lily, Bloom, Blossom, who likes flowers, like, shut up. And not well written, I would say. Of course, that is very subjective, but as someone who has a degree in writing and did a lot of literary and writing analysis, there are certain things that you can objectively point out as like, you know, whether people are going to like it or not is very subjective, right? But there are certain things that are just objectively not the highest quality in a writing sense, right? And I would say that this qualifies, again, subjective whether or not you like the book and enjoy a reading experience with it, right? And I will say, it gets, from my perspective, right, which is someone who has been in an abusive relationship for many, many years too, I think it does get some things right, or kind of right, about domestic violence. But it gets some things very, very wrong, very wrong. And I just think in general, it is an incredibly superficial look at domestic violence. It's not, there's not much of a conversation actually being had in this book. But it wasn't as shockingly terrible as I was anticipating. I will definitely never reread this, holy shit. And like I said, it's ridiculously easy to get through, as most kind of contemporary fiction is, I find. But yeah, everything about it. The characters felt very superficial, very shallow. We did not dive into much of anything very in-depth. And I don't want to get further into all the stuff with like abuse and everything, because I will be talking about it more in depth. But I just think it's a very idyllic version of what happens when you leave. And just the way that the separation happened and her thought process after she decided to leave finally, her thought processes after that not really how it goes for anyone I know who has been through it, and myself included. Once that switch gets flipped and you're fucking done, you are done. And maybe you don't hate the person and want them to die, but you don't feel loving feelings toward them anymore. And she kept feeling like, oh, I love him so much though. And I was just like, then you're not at that point. Once, like, again, I'm sure there's anomalies, but myself and any woman I know who has been through it and who I've talked to in depth about this, it's like, yeah, once you are done, you're done. And like no amount of good behavior after that point is gonna bring you back in. If you get brought back in and if you're still having loving, maybe it could work thoughts, you're not there yet. But in this book, she was done. And then his behavior also post-separation was very idyllic. No harassment, no stalking, even though he stalked her before they got together. No harassment, no calls, no texts, no scaring you. Like, it was all just very like, okay, I'll give you your space. I'm like, that's not how that fucking goes. So yeah, without getting further into it, a lot of it, there were things, and then I just felt like we didn't reflect enough. We showed things that I noticed as like, holy shit, red flag. That is a fucking red flag. As I am wont to do once I finish a book and write my own review, I will go look at other reviews just to get a vibe for like what people are saying about it and to kind of inform when I talk about it in a video too, like what other people are saying and what I think about that, right? And oh my God, it makes me so terrified for women and young women. So many who were like, oh my God, like it was mismarketed too, I think. This book was horribly mismarketed. It's not a fucking romance, okay? Like, no. I don't think Colleen Hoover even kind of meant for it to be either, but people pick it up thinking like, oh, it's a Colleen Hoover romance, yay. And so many people who were like, oh my God, I felt so betrayed by the author. I fell in love with Ryle, the guy. I fell in love with him from the get-go. He was so charming and so this and so that. And then, oh my God, he's abusive. Like, what? And I was just like, oh my God, oh my God. From the minute he stepped on page, he was a walking red flag. And to me, that's a conversation that needs to be had of like, hey, young girls, yes, it can look like this. They can be very charming. That's how you get sucked in. They charm you and you aren't aware yet. You're not educated yet. You haven't had the experience or learned about it enough. You're very naive. And so you miss all these red flags. I missed them too when I was in the shit with someone. But like, if you're gonna write a book talking about this and showing red flags, you need to fucking reflect on it. We should have the main character, once she's at a point of like, oh my God, this man is abusive to me. And certainly once she's at a point of like, oh my God, he's abusive and I need to fucking leave. Like it's at a point where it's not getting fixed and I gotta go. Let me think back on all the things I missed. Let me talk about that. Let me reflect on that. Let's have a fucking conversation about it. And we didn't. We did not. So it's like, it could be good because so many people pick it up. So many people have read it. It could have been a great, like how I think bad romance is. Bad romance to me does that very well. It shows a girl getting into this. It shows red flags that can be easily missed until, oh my God, I'm in it now. And now I'm looking back and I'm seeing all these red flags. Holy crap, I missed it. And now I'm stuck. But it has that conversation. And so I think that book, like, God, I wish all these young women who are picking up Fucking It Ends With Us would turn around and pick up Bad Romance right after. Oh my God. Anyway, that's that on that. I initially gave this 2.75 stars just because it was very quick read, right? Easily digestible. And it does do something. It does showcase some things. But I ended up changing it to a 2.5 because, and I'm like debating a 2.25. I just don't think it does it well enough. And it's like genuinely a little scary. So many people pick it up and like I don't think they, and some of them maybe do. Maybe some of them just themselves look back on like, oh my God, I really liked this guy. Like, what the hell? And maybe they reread it and like, oh, now I see all the things. Maybe, I hope, Jesus Christ. But it's like, it's real problematic to write this story and then not like have that fucking conversation, really. And I also just think too, the author has from her like author's note at the end, I don't know, a real weird like relationship in her mind emotionally with her own abusive father who is abusive to her mother. And like there's a whole message of like in the book it literally says, there's a quote and Ryle says it, which I was like, that's a red fucking flag. There's no such thing as bad people, just good people who sometimes do bad things. And I was like, no. Fuck off. There's fucking bad people out there. Like maybe there's reasons why, like nature versus nurture. Maybe they were conditioned to be this way now, but like now they're a bad person. There are some people who are just fucking bad people and whatever. Oh my God. Anyway, so yeah, 2.5, but maybe a 2.25, honestly. I don't know, 2.5. I'll say 2.5. Anyway, I'm probably gonna have to cut so much of this because I'm waxing poetic about it, but I want to save that for another video. But yeah, I finally read It Ends With Us, and now I can have an opinion on it. Okay, that is all for now. Oh my God, I have a whole other fucking recent wrap up that I need to do. Several other books will be done for now though, because I have talked long enough. As always, thank you so much for your time. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.